we require and we expect things from other people that we don't even do ourselves.
Where you going? Step in my office. Let me holler at you real quick.
Yes.
Like, because at the end of the day, it's like if she's not getting that from me.
Just because you've been in a relationship, in a marriage for a long time, don't mean that you can just come any type of way. Right?
Have I done that to you? Yo, what up, what up? We are back for another episode of the Growing in Love podcast. We are your hosts, Austin Smith, and
I did not know we were recording. Brea Smith.
yeah,
Sorry.
It's all good. We in our natural element. We gotta. This ain't no.
I know, but I should have been paying attention.
It's all good, baby. How are you? You good?
I'm doing good.
Good. Well, we are back for another episode. Shout out if this is your first time.
Yes.
Watching, listening.
Talk to us.
Yeah.
In the comments, please.
We like to comment, love. Engage with us on the comments, and if this episode encourages you, or you enjoy, you think this might be good for somebody, especially with this topic, hey, send it to them. All right. So, and if it's your spouse.
Yes.
Definitely send it to them. Why? Because we're talking about keeping it spicy.
Yes.
Keeping it fresh.
Keeping it fresh.
Keeping the spark alive.
Keeping it fun.
Keep them jumper cables out.
Wow.
That could get that could sound very like, I don't know, that could have turned left. We're talking about keeping it fresh, exciting in your marriage. I think it's important because obviously, the name of this podcast is called Growing in Love.
Yeah.
We've always said if you're not growing, then you're becoming stagnant, and what becomes stagnant becomes stale, and what becomes stale becomes expired.
Yeah.
And what is expired dies. So, that relates to so many areas of our life, but especially in the context of relationships and marriage.
Yeah. So,
I think this is a topic that's necessary because there's a lot of people. I'm really sitting like this, and I'm comfortable. I was sitting Indian style earlier, and it's just like, man, I don't know how people do that.
Yeah.
Especially you be doing that when I drive. Anyways, I think it's important to keep it fresh in your marriage. I really do, because when it's not fresh, what used to be a joy and refreshing can now become something that you become. What's the word I want to?
You usually say what used to be a blessing can now become a burden.
Very much so, and what used to be refreshing you can become resentful towards. You know what I'm saying? So,
good.
I think it's important to keep it fresh. So we're going to talk about that, but before we get into it, what are you growing through this week?
What am I growing through this week? When it comes to the podcast, I'm so thankful for the podcast and for what it is doing. But I also think that sometimes with the podcast, I get triggered with certain things. And what I mean by that is, so when we were pastoring a church, I feel like there was so much spiritual warfare that came with that.
Yep.
Because I feel like once you start doing something that you feel like God has called you to do, there's always going to be opposition.
Right.
And with this podcast, I think because we talk so much about our life, things that we're growing through, things that we have grown through, things that we are currently growing through.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get fearful of the wrong person seeing that. And because I am who I am, I'm a person who likes to protect a lot of things, especially when it comes to you. I'm very territorial. So I think it is truly releasing this podcast to God and allowing God to protect us, because if he's called us to it, he also will protect us in it. Yeah. And not allowing past triggers with the spiritual warfare that we have gone through to keep me from being vulnerable in this podcast. Because sometimes you think about, okay, I think it's reality of the thing is not everybody wants to see you win. Not everybody is praying for you.
That's real.
Not everybody enjoys seeing healthy marriages. Not everybody wants your marriage to last.
That's real. That's real. Especially because it's like if it's not happening for them, or they want something but aren't at that place.
Yeah.
It's like, well, if I can't have it, then like I don't want anybody else to have it.
Right.
And to your point, I mean, we talked about it in our episode when we talked about boundaries. I think, somebody shared this recently with me, even when it comes to the growth of this podcast, because this technically we're like 2 months in, like, and we started off with like 478 subscribers.
Know the number.
And we're almost currently where we are right now, and it might be more by then, but we're roughly around like 914 subscribers. So organically, like, there is something that's happening that God is breathing on this. And to your point, people either don't like it or they think, keyword, capitalize it, underline, highlight, they think that they can get in between this literally because, that's the type of woman I would want. Or that's the type of man I want. Listen, like I did in the other episode, she can get her camera, I can get my camera at the same time. I'm right here. She's right here. We're not going anywhere. And we're not letting anything come in between us. But we also recognize that we wrestle not against flesh and blood.
Yeah.
So I'm being serious, but at the end of the day, if God has started this thing, then he's going to have to be the one to sustain it as well.
Yes.
And it goes back to just his model, his way of how we should. I mean, we pray before, we do these episodes. We pray, when it comes to, hey, like, what should we talk about? How much should we share? Because people are crazy, you know what I'm saying? And just being sensitive to that. But at the end of the day, I still believe God as well.
Yep.
That no weapon formed against us shall be able to prosper.
Amen.
And every tongue that rises up against us shall be condemned.
Yep. And that's something that God has been showing me, is just that, like, one of the most powerful positions to be in is in God.
Yeah.
Right? Is in the protection, is in the hand of God.
Yeah.
And God has literally been showing me what it looks like to be in his hands. Like, when you are in the hands of God, trust me.
Yeah.
If God be for you, who can be against you?
Who?
So even though we're doing this, even though it has brought up some, past triggers about seasons that we're in, I am so confident in the Lord. And that is the only reason why I'm able to be vulnerable and to be honest about where we are. And I truly understand that God is calling us to this because it will be able to break chains off of people because we are also honest and vulnerable. I don't think there's enough people who are in marriage who are very honest about where they are, the things that they have gone through, and the things that they're currently growing through.
Yeah.
Within their marriage. So.
No, that's good. That's good. I think for me, mine kind of relates to the podcast as well. More so from a standpoint of just like staying consistent. We read a statistic that like the top podcasts are the ones that just continue to keep going.
Yeah.
And we try to provide quality content, topics, not really like fluff. We're not big on like the just like controversial clickbait content. That's not really us. We're going to be on this couch, sweatpants. Obviously we got outfits on because we got to have clothes, but like we're going to be us. You know what I'm saying? And I understand that we're not going to be for everybody, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I also understand that sometimes the people that are closest to you or, who are in, your vicinity are not always going to support, and that's okay.
Yep.
So, for me, I want to make sure that I'm continuing to do this for the right reasons. Yep. That our definition of success, obviously, in YouTube, you have goals, you have desires. At the end of the day, my desire is to have impact in the ways that God wants us to have impact. Yeah. And however that translates, then it'll translate. To be honest, and we've talked about this before, a lot of times when I catch up with people that I haven't seen in a while, man, how's the family? And we talk about it. Like, man, I love the podcast. Like,
That's the first thing.
that's usually like the first thing, honestly. And it's like I be forgetting sometimes. Not forget that we have a podcast, but it's like
I do sometimes.
it's not that we haven't put effort into it.
No.
But it's not the thing that like consumes us.
Yeah.
Like I don't leave with that. Like people say, yeah, what do you do? Oh yeah, I got a podcast, and it's like I leave with, man, like, you know, I love Jesus. I'm married. This is like that's the priority.
Yeah.
All the other things are just like extra. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So just staying consistent, having the right heart.
Because we release it to God.
We release it to God, and to make sure that we be strategic with it as well. So, you know, the month of June, we're going to do a break, and we're going to rest because we're going to Jamaica. And also, our team works hard, Nigeria and Amore.
Yeah, they need to rest too.
They need rest too.
They're preparing for a whole wedding.
Listen, and just like the work that it takes to edit and everything, like
We wouldn't have a podcast if it wasn't for them.
we wouldn't, like, for real. I'm being for real.
Yeah.
Like they're just as much as part of this as us. And with that being said, it's just like we have to honor not just ourselves, but we have to honor them as well, and say, hey, like let's just have a break, and you know, it's gonna still be here when we get back.
Amen.
And by chance that it just blew up and just disappeared off the face of the earth, my prayer is that like we made enough impact in the amount of time that we had to impact the lives that we have.
Yeah.
I'm not stressed about this. I really, and it's so weird because I'm a person who's very like legacy, boom, like big. And it's like with this, I'm just like, it's fun. I enjoy it, but like, Lord, however you want to do this, and be honest, like, and we'll get to what we need to talk about, but sometimes, man, I wish I would do that more in other areas of my life. Like, I think,
let God be God.
yeah, like to really trust Him as like Lord.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you know, I wish I had. I'm just being transparent and vulnerable. Like, I wish I had the same trust when it comes sometimes to like trusting Him with like finances, trusting Him with like my plans for like my future, trusting Him with, you know, even my children sometimes, you know, like, cause I'm a protector, but like I watch like my children, I drop them off and like walk them to school and everything. It's just like, man, like, Lord, I trust you with my boys, cause I'm not going to always be there, you know? So I just thought about that, but
No, that's good.
yeah. So yeah, this episode is about keeping it spicy. It's about keeping it spicy.
Keeping it spicy.
We did a Q&A episode. Shout out to everybody that dropped questions on that. But we also received another question all the way from South Africa. So I do not want to mispronounce your name, but our friend Teboga
Well, I was just gonna say
Le Kahana. That's how I think it's pronounced,
let me
but
see.
yeah. He says, "Yo, Austin, this is well, it was originally for the Q&A and we didn't see it, so my apologies. But I think it aligns with what we're talking about on this episode. It says, when in a relationship, what can you and your partner do to not grow apart? Since it's something that happens in relationships, I'm sending love from South Africa." So it's cool, man, like to see that, you know, one, like I said, this is God's podcast. Like he's got this. But it's cool. Like we're in South Carolina, but making impact in South Africa. So, you know, people have questions and relationships are everywhere. You know what I'm saying? So in the context of marriage though, and, you know, dating, but I think for us, it applies more in marriage. How do you keep it spicy? Yeah, let's keep it in marriage. How do you keep it spicy? How do you keep it fresh? Because we met when I was 21. You were 20. We've been together technically for 10 years. Married for 8.
Yes.
In June 25th, 2024. Going to Jamaica. Can't wait for that. And it's very easy to just go through the motions. It's very easy to wake up and say the same things. How'd you rest? Okay, cool. How's your day at work? Okay, cool. What are we going to eat? Okay, cool. And then the next thing you know, it becomes a mundane, same song, same rhythm, same pace. We're on repeat. And it just becomes more like, instead of doing life with someone, it feels like sometimes you just end up becoming roommates.
Right.
Who have sex and raise two little humans.
Yeah.
And not saying that's our case. It's just that it's very easy to get into that place, right? So why is it important to keep things fresh? And yeah, let's talk about that. Like, why is it important, and how do we do that?
Why is it important? I think as human beings, we're just very complex beings. And who wants to be bored?
Who wants to be bored?
Who wants to be bored? Who wants to live? Who wants to go to the same job every day doing the same thing? There's no type of, nobody wants to do that in every aspect of your life. And I feel like in marriage, it is no different. You do not want to be bored in your marriage. So when it comes to how to keep things spicy, I always like visualize certain things. Like, I'm a visual person. And one thing I think about is like when people are like, how do you keep the fire lit? And I'm like, well, I think about, because thinking about used to going camping and everything. In order to keep a fire lit, you have to keep it lit, right? So you have to literally go get the wood for the fire.
Wow.
You got to go light it.
Break
right?
this down.
And then sometimes in different environments, in different seasons, sometimes you can't use your wood, right? Because it may be wet. And so it's going to be harder to start that fire, right? So you got to understand what season you're in. There's certain seasons that you're going to have to grow through when it comes to that. Sometimes you're going to have to figure out new ways to start the fire, right? Maybe you may not have all the same tools, right? Sometimes those tools get older. Wow. Right. But you're going to have to figure out new ways to light that fire. So I think about that within a marriage too. One thing that I can say that has recently happened, one time recently I had this epiphany and I'm like, okay, my husband flirts with me. Do I do that back? Sometimes we require and we expect things from other people that we don't even do ourselves. And I feel like, especially as women, I've talked about this before in our sex and marriage episode, but I had to think about it. I'm like, I don't want someone to flirt with my husband. I never want my husband to feel like he's getting something that he doesn't get at home, right? And if he wants to flirt with someone, I want him to be able to do that with me, right? So I had to ask myself, and I always look at myself now more than I look at you. I'm like, do I flirt with my husband? Like, I know that it's harder for me to flirt just because of who I am. But like, do I do that with my husband? Because that should be comfortable for me. I feel like society makes things seem so exciting when it's not done in the order that God has intended for you. Yeah. Right. And I'm like, whatever society says to do or it says is cool, do the opposite. And now I've been trying to just challenge myself to do things like that. And it's become a lot easier because I'm just like, first of all, I'm very attracted to you. That's not something that I have to, force myself to do.
I am too. To you.
So that's easy for me. What's not easy for me has been trying to pursue my husband because I'm not used to being the pursuer. So now I'm like, okay, how can I do that? Like, I remember things that I used to do when it was outside the boundaries of marriage, like sexting, stuff like that. And you're like, that was so exciting back then. Why is it so awkward for me to do that now? So I just tried to do it with you one day and it actually went really well. Right. But that was hard for me to do. Sometimes you just have to get out of your comfort zone if you want to grow. Yeah. You have to do things that may have seemed exciting before. Push yourself to do that now. Yeah. And you got to figure out, you got to communicate to know what's exciting to your partner. So for me, it's communicating, hey, what turns you on? What type of things do you like? What are you attracted to? So that I know to do those things as well. One thing that I know that I do consistently is I'll get my hair done. I try to keep myself up. I work out in the gym. And that's from a whole health and wellness, side, right? But also, I want to feel confident in the body that I'm in. Yeah, that's great. I also want to feel confident for my husband because this is my husband. I'm his. He's mine. So I want to make sure that I am, you feel
look
good for you too.
What Deion say? If you feel good,
Yeah.
Well, I'm messing it up already. If you look good, you feel good.
Yeah.
If you feel good, you play good.
And I think that yes,
Yeah.
and I've noticed that within myself too, because in certain seasons, when you just finish having children and your body doesn't look the same the way that it used to look, you can kind of get a little down on yourself, like, oh, I wonder if he's attracted to me. But there's certain things where it's just like you may never look the way that you look if you had kids, but can you feel confident in the body that you're in that you now have? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right? It's up to you. You're going to have to put those things into place.
Yeah.
So
I think you put those things into place, but then also from my side of the table, I think like especially in that context, husbands have to do a good job of making sure that their wives, because it's easy, but you should know I'm attracted to you. Like you should know that, right?
Yeah.
It's like no, like she can't just like I don't need to expect that she can read my mind or that I can read her mind. She can't read my mind either. So what I mean by that is like expressing verbally, like the intimacy isn't just necessarily physical. I think it's also verbal, like affirmation, flirting. Yeah, we talk about like sexting and flirting like that, but then also like saying like, hey, like you look good today. Like you look like, hey girl, where you going? Step in my office. Let me holler at you real quick.
yes.
Like because at the end of the day, it's like if she's not getting that from me, then if Robert at her job and she doesn't have a Robert, you don't got a Robert at your job.
That's my boss's name.
Is it really?
Yeah, we call him Bob, but his name is Robert.
If Elmo at your job,
Not Elmo.
whoever fill in the blank is giving you those affirmations,
That's something that
then it's just like you're gonna look for that somewhere else that should come from me.
Right.
So I think that's a part of it. Also knowing what you need helps to keep things spicy. So love languages, the season of love language, like it may be more of acts of service.
Yeah.
And again, not doing it from a motivation of so I can get the buns. It's more so just like, hey, like I gotta give these kids a bath because they stink and they need a bath. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Versus like the motive is so I can have sex.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
No, these are my kids.
These are my kids and my responsibilities, right?
Yes.
So I think that's the thing for me. One thing I've been doing too, that I've been trying to be intentional about this year is like just trying to set up like either just dates, like experiences. Yeah. I know experiences are like big for you. Obviously, you want to like stay within budget and make sure that you're not being wild. Like my man Andy says, like being willy nilly. But like when it comes to pursuing and keeping things spicy, a part of keeping things spicy is changing the scenery. Changing your surroundings, like taking day trips or taking weekend trips.
Yes. Any of my couples know. I know y'all know this, but if you're married, vacation intimacy is so different.
Listen,
than when you're at home. Yeah. So yes.
Amen.
That's what I wanted to say.
But also, I mean, we do like like weekend trips and stuff like that. But then just like even local experiences. So like, I know. Shout out to the Perrys. I said it like we know them. We don't. But Jackie Hill Perry and her husband have a podcast. They're coming to Charlotte, and we're gonna go check that out.
Yeah.
So that's like a experience that we can do together. And then for me, yes, it's about like new experiences, things that may be outside like my comfort zone as well. But ultimately, it's just like, hey, what are things that we can do together to like have quality time that will create moments that we can have memories, but then also moments that I can learn more about you. So it may not necessarily be a trip always. Sometimes it's just like going to like a new restaurant and just having great conversations.
Right.
Especially if I know that's something that like stimulates you, but also that turns you on and makes you attracted beyond just like the physical as well. So
yeah, I'm all about communication, like learning more about you. Can you touch me without touching me? So that's huge for me. Another thing I was gonna say is like when you said scenery, like you don't always have to go on vacation to get a new scenery. Like you can get out of your bedroom.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I think when I was talking about the analogy of just finding different ways to light the fire, it's like you don't always have to do what you've been doing.
Yeah.
Right. If you don't want to get bored, that means try something new. I think something very exciting for relationships is just doing something that you haven't done before. Right. So if you got to go to a different room, if you have to, you know, just do something you haven't done before. Like I feel like a lot of couples are very okay with just being in the bedroom at night. You know, it could be, you know, your husband comes home early from work and you're like, okay, this is about to go down. It could be that maybe you just do small things for them that you know that they're going to appreciate. So maybe you come to work and, you know, you drop off lunch and you like, hey,
Okay.
meet me this place, 6 o'clock. Maybe you get a hotel, you know, and you ask your parents to keep your kids.
Listen, take them.
It's small things like that.
Yeah.
That are different, but it makes it exciting because I feel like I said before, the world will make you feel like, oh, cheating on your spouse is exciting, right? You know, like that's an adrenaline rush. That's something, you know, if you got a high to do it, it's more exciting. But it's like, no, like being in the right parameters and the protection of God, but being able to do this with someone you actually have a true connection with, that you have a soul connection with, that you are committed to, that knows everything about you. That's different.
Yeah.
Like that's beautiful. That's amazing. And you can still make it fun and exciting. You just have to put the effort into it.
Yeah.
Like the only thing different is, listen, this is the person that is for me. This is the person who I'm always going to be protected in.
Yeah.
And we can make this exciting. Like, yeah, try some new things.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. And I said this in another episode. I'll say it again, man. I think you just can't stop being curious. Like curiosity is something that can lead you deeper into intimacy.
Right.
By just simply getting to know that person. I remember was it Valentine's Day or I can't remember if it was Valentine's Day or if it was your birthday. I think we still had the coffee cup. I don't know.
Oh yeah, that was beautiful.
I would get up, but like I don't feel like getting up right now. But it's literally I found this coffee mug from probably like Target, and it had like hearts on it. I think it was Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
And I did like 25 things or, you know, that I love about you. But I think also you can make it fun where you like have just do a date night and, you know, they got card games where you can like play different card games that ask different questions or challenges. But you also could do like different questions of like, hey, like, you know, these are going to be random questions. We put them in the ball. Maybe you get like some wine, chill at home.
Help the people.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Give them ideas.
because a lot of times, I'm saying that too because like with guys, I know for me, like I used to always think it had to be like a grand slam type of date, where it's just like, man, when you have a woman who just cares about your quality time,
yes,
versus the quantity of like the magnitude of it,
right.
It's like some of our best dates have been Chick-fil-A. Now I'm not saying every date need to be Chick-fil-A. Like, all right, cool. You said just quality time. Yeah. Like, but but sometimes it's just like, yo, we don't have it right now. So like we're gonna be at this crib.
And sometimes women are too bougie with that. Like, oh, I can't go to Red Lobster. I can't go to this place. Well, first of all, Red Lobster is overrated anyway.
I'm not going to Red Lobster.
Red Lobster is overrated anyway.
Please.
But Chick-fil-A?
Please help the people.
The holy chicken?
We don't go to Red Lobster.
We don't. But
we went to Red Lobster one time and it was
no, it was very you mean
overrated. Like something like Ruth Chris, like because Red Lobster is not like.
No, but I'm just saying in context that was on the list.
Oh yeah, that list. I forgot about that list.
That was a list of places
like
where they're like you can't go there on your first date. But my thing about it is that
their cheese biscuits used to hit though.
I can't.
They don't hit as much. I mean, I haven't been in a while, but anyway, I'm sorry. Real quick, you know who has the best bread?
Oh,
Texas Roadhouse. Argue with your mama, not me.
They got the
honey butter.
Oh yes, the honey butter.
Oh my gosh, like bro, that was the bread that like God rained down to the children.
The manna?
Yes, it was that bread. Okay, I'm sorry.
Wow. Oh, excuse me. I forgot what I said. You can't be doing that because it's too late for you to be going on rants about bread.
I'm sorry. Y'all know what she said?
Anyways, yeah. Keep going about Chick-fil-A.
You were talking
about Chick-fil-A.
You were talking about the list.
I just came in.
Yeah, you were talking about the list.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes women have...
Sometimes women are too bougie about that. The mission is to get to know this person better.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Right. That's what it's about.
Yeah, I won't interrupt again.
No, it's okay.
But, guys, we put this pressure on ourselves. Like I said, it has to be so extravagant, where it's more about the experience.
Yeah.
And more about, like, some of the best conversations we've had is on this couch or in a parking lot eating ice cream. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So don't put that pressure on yourself to feel like in order to keep it spicy that, like, I always have to hit it out the park, because that's not, to me, it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And if it's more so about longevity of anything, it's more so about consistency versus like intensity.
Yeah.
And the consistent thing may be, hey, one thing we've been trying to do better with is, like, on our calendar, we put marriage check-in, like, at the end of the month. Yeah. And we got to do better with that, But I think we talk enough where it's like we're checking in, but just like hey, at the end of the month, hey, like, where are we? Like, how are you? What do you need? Mm-hmm. And that's something that's set on the calendar, but as it becomes a part of your rhythm and routine, it just becomes a part of, like, the rhythm where you don't have to wait to the end of the month. You don't have to wait to a certain, like, set date. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So yeah, that would be, like, another thing for me when it comes to just keeping it fresh, keeping it spicy, like, continue to water the plant, continue to make sure that, like, it's getting the nutrients, the sunlight that it needs. So,
come on, planting analogies. Yeah. Okay. I was gonna say going again with uncomfortable conversations because we're keeping it spicy, right?
Okay,
I feel like I'm trying to, throw some hot sauce in that thing.
Yeah, I feel like, am I being too conservative?
Yes, you are. Don't be uncomfortable.
All right, go ahead. We here. Go ahead.
Be comfortable. Well, I was gonna say when it comes to uncomfortable conversations, because I feel like a lot of growth happens when you have uncomfortable conversations that people just aren't used to having in their marriages. If you like something, say that. Mm-hmm. Like, if you don't like something, you need to say that too. if you and our last episode was about boundaries, but if you have certain boundaries in the bedroom, you need to say that. Hey,
I don't like this.
I don't like that. Don't you touch there anymore. Like, you need to be able to say that. But then also, like, my big thing is, I used to be like, that's TMI.
Is it too far?
That's too far.
Turn the car around.
It's not even bad in that sense. I was gonna just say, like, I'm really big on hygiene. And, like, one day I told my husband, I feel like I told you, like, oh yeah, I just brushed my teeth. Like, I just, like, and I feel like at first he'd be like, all right, like, what are you trying to tell me? I was like, before we are intimate, you need to go. Dental hygiene. Okay. And I'm big on that. And Austin used to be like, even like when I wake up in the morning, like, Austin will kiss me and everything. And I'll be like, no, like, I don't even feel cute right now because my breath is stinking. Like, let me brush my teeth first, and then I'll feel, sexy. Then I'll feel attracted. But right now, if I'm over here like Darth Vader, I'm not about to kiss you. Like,
Darth Vader is crazy.
That's not cute.
How do you know he had bad breath? That's what I want to know.
Do you hear that?
That's because he had a mask on, babe.
Babe, it don't matter. All that heat. Don't that sound like his breath was funky? That upper lip.
His breath probably was stank.
It probably was.
Because he didn't take the mask off, did he? I'm not a Star Wars person because it was like too long of a movie.
And that's another thing. Just because you've been in a relationship and a marriage for a long time, don't mean that you can just come any type of way. Right?
Have I done that to you?
I'm just saying. I'm trying to help the people. I'm trying to
make sure I'm helped. What you mean?
I'm just saying to the people, like, you need to wash before you're in. Like, like, before. I'm just saying, like the type of prep that people used to put in before you were married and you was out here busting it wide open. You need to do that in your marriage too. Like I know you've been married for a while, but you ain't just gonna be out here stinking. Like you need to wash. You need to brush your teeth in your marriage. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Hopefully this is helping somebody out. I promise you, if you've been doing that, it's gonna change your whole sex life if you're married. I promise you.
Colgate sponsor us.
I'm just.
Dove
it is
sponsor
what it
us.
is.
Sponsor us.
It is
Dove.
what it is. And then also like
Devil.
even
Black owned sponsor us. I'm just shouting
you
out
go
brands.
through different seasons in your life where certain things just aren't a priority.
Oh,
but for me, I feel like you should still have some type of upkeep in your marriage.
No, I think that's important.
Right?
Yeah, that's important because, like you said earlier, like you go to the gym for like health and wellness. Okay, cool. But at the end of the day, I like what I like.
Yeah.
And, hips, the booty, them thighs. Amen. So working out is you investing into yourself, not just for you, but also for what your partner likes as well.
Right.
So, even for myself working out, I'm working out for my health, but I also want my wife to like what she sees. You know what I'm saying? And I ain't trying to be out here with a gut looking like an ant. You know what I'm saying? Like a grasshopper. You know what I'm saying?
The visual I just got.
But because like I'm not like a
no, I know,
I'm not like
a
massive guy. Like I have like
I know
an
you don't have to explain.
Frame.
You don't have to explain.
Me with a gut just ain't it.
You don't have to explain.
Like I just
Yeah, I just caught a visual, and when you said ant, I'm like, wow, okay,
yeah,
no, but I get it. No, and I feel like I start thinking about like even if you're married, you have kids, it's cool to be in sweatpants and a t-shirt. That's cool. Not every day. Right? Not every day.
Yeah. It's
cool to be barefaced. But I feel like every now and then, show your man,
it's cool to
what
have,
it is.
Cool.
Dress up sometimes.
Yeah, it's cool.
Make it a once a week thing if it is.
It's cool to have the big t-shirt on.
Yeah.
But sometimes just pop out and say, hey, I'm here.
Yeah.
Just like the garden.
Yeah, let's put some lipstick on.
I meant like nothing on.
Oh.
But yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Be naked and unafraid.
Listen, we here now. Like, why not? He said, growing in love after hours, after dark.
It's supposed to be spicy. And you know what? I feel like Christians need to be more comfortable with seeing Christians have Christian type relationships in marriage. Well, and like this is because this is also like God created sex.
He did.
Right?
Yeah, he did.
So you can have spicy conversations in your marriage.
You should, because
and that's okay.
We're not having Bible study 24/7. You know what I'm saying? Like we're not praying
right
and walking around the house with worship music.
God said be fruitful and multiply. How are you supposed to multiply if you ain't adding and doing multiplication?
Yeah. Cause my thing is just like, you ever seen the videos on like social sometimes where it'd be like the couples like be praying together and like the woman is like
that is
in the front
to me sometimes
and the man is in the back. Let me tell you something right now.
You sound like whatchamacallit.
If we're praying like that, I'm not praying. I'm not there. I'm not there. And let us not be in front of the bed. And and you bumped over and you been in the gym like you been doing these squats. We're not praying.
Facts.
I'm gonna pray that you hurry up and shut up so we can go fellowship.
That's it.
For real.
That's it.
Because it's just to your point. There's a lot of cringe behavior that
in society
for the sake of like influencer, and I don't know.
So it's now when you think about sex and you think about sex that's exciting, a lot of people don't think about sex in marriage.
Yeah.
Sex in marriage is usually like, oh, like, do y'all even have sex in marriage? Is it exciting anymore? And I think that's why we get so many conversations that say, how do you keep things spicy in a relationship?
Yeah.
Why? Because most people think that you don't keep, that marriages are dry.
Yeah, you gotta.
I'm trying to change the narrative.
Listen.
Your marriage don't need to be dry. It don't have to be. Okay,
Brush
that
your
is
teeth.
that is a narrative that needs to be broken. All right, we can tell that it's very late.
No,
So
it's just that really blessed me. But I think the other thing too is because like we're laughing and having fun. That's why I say you got to have fun to keep it spicy. But a lot of times people just don't, like you said, I'm not saying as an absolute, but to your point, we haven't done a good job of talking about the beauty of sex and like having the conversations. So because we didn't have people who taught us the beauty of it, many of us look for teachers in the wrong place.
Yeah.
So where to be in porn, where to be in media, where to be in music, where to be in culture. And we have a perverted view of intimacy and spice where the spice is more so just like based upon one night stands. So it's just like that's more so lust, so it cannot be sustained. So if that's your pattern when you're single, when you bring it up, when you get married and she not doing what, you know, the other women did because you've had so many different experiences, now you're comparing her to either a porno or to one of your exes, and that's just not fair, right?
Yeah.
So it's I think it's having, you know, healthy conversations in the context of marriage, and especially, you know, I know some churches like they'll bring in like sex therapists. That might be a cool thing to bring in a sex therapist on the podcast. Because it's just like these are the conversations that need to be had to show people that, like, you know, some people also say, man, I'm afraid to get married because if I haven't tried it, then I don't want to get in it, and like I haven't tested the car before I get out the lot. And it's just like a part of keeping it spicy is, and I don't want to be redundant, but continue to learn your person. Yeah. Continue to learn your spouse, to learn your husband, learn your wife. And a part of like husbands, like when it comes to learning your wife, knowing that you don't got to go 100 miles per hour when you're having sex, but to learn her body and be intimate and to know that like, hey, like it's not just about what you can get. Yeah. And about your orgasm. It's about us doing this together and experiencing this together, right? Yep. So
this is communication.
Communication.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Well, I hope that answered some of your questions. If there's something that you're going through when it comes to just keeping things spicy, then also let us know. We love to hear from you. We would love to hear from you. So,
and remember, spouses,
I know you guys say brush your teeth.
Brush your teeth and wash. Amen. Amen. All right. Well, we're signing off. Thank you for another episode that you have joined us for the Growing in Love podcast. Please make sure that you subscribe, share, and laugh, and don't be uptight, because sex is beautiful, marriage is fun, and it can stay fun if you keep it spicy. Love y'all.